So this is people management. We are team 2, from me to you, and I'm Jerisa.
I'm Hazel.
I'm Malia.
I'm Cesar.
I'm Jack.
To get us started, we're going to go over some background information. We interviewed front of house bagelry manager Heather, and we asked her about her managerial practices and how she runs her establishment. The Bagelry is a fast-paced and well-loved bagel shop. It's owned by Tara and Aaron Seaton, and it is located in downtown Bellingham on Railroad Avenue.
Yeah, so Heather has been working at the Bagelry for 4 years now and has been a manager of the front of house for at least 2 of those years. She's one of 3 front managers and works directly with the people on the line making the product that we actually give to customers, and then also the cashiers who actually have that day-to-day interaction with the customers. She works really hard to create good morale and good quality of work in the front of the house. She also works hand in hand with the owners and all of the other managers at the Bagelry to make sure that we have a productive and healthy environment.
So for our if-then statement, we narrowed it down to this one conclusive statement, and that is, if Heather were to create a personal relationship with her employees, then they will be more inclined to receive feedback in a positive manner. Now, the reason we chose this if-then statement is because we felt like it encompasses what Heather's process is as a manager in a very accurate and concise way.
So, how does Heather make this personal relationship with her employees? Well, here's the practice. When does it happen? Well, it usually happens day-to-day basis, downtime, beginning of the shift, after shift, you name it. And that happens on the work site, nowhere in particular, just anywhere, at any time. They'll talk about anything. It'll be natural flowing conversation, very casual and very friendly. And Heather's goal in doing this is to break down the boundaries of manager and employee, build humility and relatability and trust, and ultimately lower the perceived power dynamic between her and her employees.
Okay, moving on to our analysis. If Heather were to improve employees' receptiveness to feedback positively, then higher morale and intrinsic motivation will ultimately improve the employee's task performance. With Heather building a more personal relationship with her employees, this can lead to the employees having a more motivation to grow within the workplace and also go about their task performance in a well-mannered way and actually strive to achieve these tasks instead of just doing the bare minimum.
Now, although Heather has all of these goals for the outcomes of this practice, there are some possible pitfalls. These aren't ones that I've necessarily experienced on the job, but they are for sure possible outcomes of this practice. One of the biggest ones is equity. With this goal of creating a personal relationship with all of the employees, you don't necessarily take into account all of the diverse personalities that are in this workforce. So one of the biggest biases is the affinity bias that we see. Heather could potentially create stronger relationships with those employees who have a more similar personality to hers. And then it can lead to disruptions in giving feedback to those who don't necessarily have that similar personality. And then with that favorableness towards the people with similar personalities, it can lead to the halo and the horn effect taking place.
Something that stems from the affinity bias is, as previously stated, the halo and the horn effect. What ends up happening is that Heather might see a positive trait in an individual that she already shares a similarity with, like they have an outgoing personality, might have similar thought processes, might do certain tasks certain ways similar to her. She then views this person to a higher standard, a higher level, or just has some bias towards them because of that similarity. So they're great in one aspect, so then she assumes that in all the other tasks included within the workplace, they're also going to be great at. This can also be in turn for the horn effect, which is when the opposite occurs, when she meets an individual, maybe she doesn't have a similarity, maybe they have one trait that she might not view as favorable, and then she views the rest of their abilities as not as valuable, views them as less, or she just takes a more negative connotation to how they are in the workplace.
Another way that Heather's practices can be analyzed is through something called the availability bias. And you know what they say, out of sight, out of mind, and that's what this bias is. She would basically be talking only to the employees that she can reach, those that are available at the time. This can lead to her neglecting the employees, like maybe ones in the back or employees that are more consistently busy with their job or that just don't run into her.
So, in lieu of these pitfalls, we've come up with some possible recommendations that can be used at the Bagelry. One of these would be to schedule meetings inclusively, and what that entails is asking employees to weigh in and give their feedback about how management is doing their job and how they feel they're being treated at the workplace. Secondly, we would create a list of objective job performance standards. So what this does is that it helps create a frame of reference for not only the manager, which in this case would be Heather, but also the employees, and lets them know that there's no favoritism or subjectivity when it comes to criticism or feedback. And I believe this would encourage workers to give a little more effort into the workplace because there's no favorites and they're all being treated fairly. Thirdly, would be to have monthly meetings for the employees with the manager, specifically checking with how things are going at the workplace. What this does is that it lets employees know that they're being heard by their managers and their ideas, thoughts, and concerns are being considered at the workplace, which is very important. And it also allows employees to bring up any concerns they might have. This is really important because it creates a sense of psychological safety, and this is just really great to have in the workplace because it creates a more sustainable human connection between managers and employees. So, in conclusion, with all these recommendations considered, we believe that Heather is able to provide an even better managing experience because it allows a more inclusive workplace, which is very important in today's day and age. You want everyone to feel included. Secondly, a more communicative workplace. You can't have a healthy workplace without effective communication. People need to be heard. Thirdly, a more supportive work environment. People don't want to work where they're not being supported. So it's very important to have that energy. Lastly, this all leads to improved morale, trust and performance among the employees.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you.
Thank you.
Bad joke of the day. How do you throw a party in outer space? You plan it.